Hi. Hi, I'm Sable, founder and digital event marketing specialist for Sequin, Soirée. And welcome to my new weekly conversation series called Style Chats, where I share my thoughts, insights, experiences about fashion events that I've attended, fashion events that I want to attend, fashion events that I've kind of researched and have some interesting thoughts about. So hopefully you'll join me for the live premieres every Thursday. If you do, come say hi in the chat and share your experiences about whatever topic we're talking about each week. So today I want to talk about one of the most frustrating parts of event marketing. When people RSVP to your events, but then they don't show up. Let's talk about it. So earlier this year in June, I organized a webinar focused on selling out fashion events without a large team or a PR team behind you. I set up an Eventbrite page, I shared content on LinkedIn, I posted content on Instagram, I sent out email reminders, I created a deck for it, and I was really excited to get it going because I was just in the soft launch phase of my business and I just wanted to get a good feel of who's interested in learning more about the topics that I care about. My initial goal was to remove all the barriers from participating in this webinar, so I made it free. To be quite honest, the word webinar bothers me to no end because in my personal experience, a webinar is just the launch pad to someone selling a course, which was not what was happening with me. Yes, at the end of the webinar, I was going to soft pitch my business, Sequin Soirée, with the goal of sharing the services that I offer with digital event marketing to see if any of those people who had RSVP'd would be interested in partnering with me, but I was not selling a course. But calling it a webinar was probably my first mistake. So the marketing campaign for the webinar ran, I believe, 2 weeks. And I even ran an Eventbrite ad just to see if I could gain any traction from that. But it resulted in 10 RSVPs total. Cut to the day of the webinar. I get dressed, put my makeup on, ready to talk, go through my deck one more time. I believe I set it for 10 a.m. and I'm all ready to go. I log on to Zoom because it was a live Zoom and I'm just waiting for people to show up. I was like, I'll give them 5 minutes to show up and then I'll get started. 5 minutes go by. Nothing. I was like, well, I'll give him another 5 minutes. It's fine. Nobody showed up. So I logged off and I was upset, but instead of using it as oh my God, I'm a failure, I'm in the soft launch of my business and nobody showed up. Instead of seeing it as a failure, I was like, you know what? This is just data. What can I learn from this? So I took a minute to just focus. I think I went for a drive after just to calm my nerves or reset my mind about it. I hosted my first webinar this past weekend and nobody showed up. Here's what happened. I'm currently soft launching my business, Sequin Soirée, and thought a live webinar would be a great way to introduce my brand and service to potential clients. I put together a 1-week digital campaign and ended up with 10 RSVPs. I had my slides ready a week in advance, woke up early, cleared off my barely used desk, and logged on to Zoom, excited and ready to go. So here's my little setup. I got my microphone, got my laptop with the presentation on it. So I'm gonna be on camera for the first minute or two just to say hello, and then I'll go into the sharing of my screen for the presentation, and then I'll do a quick Q&A afterwards. Have some water, some coffee. Let's do it. But 10 a.m. came and went. And after a 10-minute grace period, I shut down the meeting. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Nobody showed up. I'm a little bummed, but in these 10 minutes, I've also thought, it's a Saturday. I was afraid this might happen, but the only way I could host it live was to do it on a Saturday because I have a full-time job and I don't want to host a webinar for my business during the week when I'm technically supposed to be on the clock. So I figured Saturday morning would be a good time, but apparently not. So instead, I'm going to pivot and make this a YouTube video and just send it out to everybody that RSVP'd, because I assume that they did want this information. Maybe the time just wasn't good for them. And I did say, even if you can't make it, RSVP and I'll send it to you via email. I kind of see this as a failure, but I'm also trying to make the most of it by making the YouTube video. It would have been nice to meet people, but it's fine. I'll live. I'll also continue following up with relevant content to keep my brand top of mind whenever they're ready to plan their next fashion event. And even though I had to pivot quickly, I'm still glad I went through with it. It gave me a lot of clarity. One takeaway: if I ever host another webinar, I'll ask attendees to confirm if they're showing up live or just want to replay so I can manage my expectations more efficiently. But more importantly, it made me realize I don't want to build a content library of educational videos. While the information was solid, watching the replay back, the video itself is kind of boring, and that's not the energy I want for Sequin Soirée. I'm not building this business to teach people how to market their events. I'm building it to attract clients who are ready to hire me to do it for them. So no one showed up live, but the webinar still brought in 10 people who are interested in the topic, and to me, that's proof of concept. So for now, I'll continue attending in-person events to grow my network and connect with the kinds of brands I want to work with. And I'll keep creating content that mainly supports the value of my service. So after getting over the initial feeling of failure with this first webinar, I took some notes. So here's what I came up with. I'm going to read from my iPad. So the first was the lack of trust and credibility. Now, since I was in the soft launch phase of Sequin Soirée, launching my business, I wasn't on every social media platform talking about my business. I didn't really have a solid foundation of like, well, people know what this is, who's behind it, I can trust this brand, which is understandable. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why people might have been curious at first, curious enough to RSVP, but not show up possibly after doing more research. Because yes, I was on LinkedIn and Instagram, but I feel like it wasn't enough content for them to be like, okay, she knows what she's talking about, even though I do know what I'm talking about. Another issue might have been the emotional buy-in, especially with free events. I feel like a lot of people RSVP for them because they sound like cool events. But then after the dopamine of clicking RSVP wears off, they just kind of forget about it because it was free. They didn't spend any money to attend. So like if they don't show up, they don't really lose anything. Another issue is I think I positioned myself in the wrong lane, especially using the word webinar. I don't want to feel like I'm teaching people anything. I'm not an educator. While I do want to share my experience and insight, I don't want to feel like I'm teaching you something. I want to connect with the people who are already interested in my line of work. So you most likely know or have similar experiences to what I'm talking about. Another one might have been the audience misalignment. Again, with calling it a webinar, I don't like to attend webinars because I know there's a sales pitch at the end. So I think a lot of people thought that was what was happening with my event, which was kind of true, but I was not selling a course. And even saying that right now, it's like, oh, that is so not how I want to do it. But I didn't know that back in June. It's October now. I didn't know that back in June. So that was something that I learned as well. Another thing might have been the timing. I scheduled this event on a Saturday, a virtual event on a Saturday morning. And I only did that because at the time in June, I was still working full time, Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 4:30. I did not have the energy or the patience to host a webinar during the week. Because again, even if I did, the timing wouldn't have worked because normally webinars that happen during the week happen around 9 a.m., 10 a.m. in the morning. I can't do that while I'm supposed to be on the clock at somebody else's business, right? So it had to be a Saturday morning at 10, which worked for me, but it did not work for my audience. So I learned a lot from that one failed webinar where nobody showed up. So if you take anything from this, just because you didn't get the outcome you wanted doesn't mean you can't learn something from it. You can take all that information and then improve. Now, this next experience I want to talk about also pertains to RSVPs that don't show up, but it's more of a one-on-one situation. I wasn't hosting an event or anything. So I was actually participating in another webinar. I believe it was by the Business of Fashion on LinkedIn, and I was connecting with people in the chat, and I gained a few new connections from it. And after the webinar ended, someone else who had participated in the webinar reached out to me via LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, I saw you were in this webinar. I'd love to connect with you." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I sent her a link to my Calendly to schedule a time to do a virtual call. She set a date and a time, and it was actually during the time where I was traveling to New York for my networking trip in May, I believe. But since it was a virtual call, I was like, I'll block out some time to go to a cafe and do this virtual call with her. But it comes to the day that we're supposed to do the call. I believe it was a few hours before. She sent me an email saying, "Hey, I'm traveling. Unfortunately, I can't do our call today. Sorry." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And I sent her a link to reschedule, and I have yet to hear from her since. And initially, it didn't bother me as much as it does now that I'm looking back on it. I'm just curious as to why some people do. If people have done that with you, if you have a business or if you are a thought leader in an industry and people reach out to you and they want to pick your brain, and then you send them a link to connect virtually or in person and they don't show up, let me know about it in the chat or in the comments, because I feel like this can't just be happening to me. I'm just curious as to why people do that sometimes, and the only thing I can think of is, again, the emotional buy-in of just saying or scheduling a call with somebody that you are interested in connecting with, but not actually following through with the connection. And since I don't charge people to schedule virtual calls with me, I think that might be a reason why she felt like it was okay to not show up. And because it was virtual, she didn't have to travel anywhere. She could have just opened up her phone and completed the call. So after that, I decided, if it's not regarding my business, if you're not interested in partnering with me or hiring me to complete services for you, no, we're not doing virtual calls. If you want to ask me a question, just ask me the question in the message. But if you charge for consultations or even coffee chats, let me know how you structure that, because I'm curious to know how other people handle situations like that. I feel like I'm not popular enough, or I'm not well known enough to charge people for my time. But my time is valuable anyway. Moving on. So in my opinion, I feel like free events in general are the root cause of this problem. And I get it. We want to remove the barriers to entry. We want to be inclusive. We want to build community. But I found in attending free events myself, it's a lot of false community. People show up, they're in the room, but I feel like they're just there to say they were there. There's no real follow-up. There's no real connection. There's nothing that happens after this event that moves the needle regarding the community overall, in my opinion. I feel like free events are sort of the catalyst for people to say things but not actually follow through. So in solving the issue of free events, I think people should charge admission for their events, because it creates intentionality and emotional buy-in, real emotional buy-in. If somebody spends money to attend an event, they're more likely to show up, right? And it also produces what I like to call positive gatekeeping. And I know that sounds weird, because when you think of gatekeeping, you think, oh, this group of people has a certain thing and they don't want to share it with anybody else. But I feel like positive gatekeeping keeps out the people who are just clout chasing, the people who just show up to take a photo in front of the step and repeat to say they were there, but not really offer anything to the group or the community. They're just kind of there to take. You know what I mean? It also increases the quality of your attendees. It improves the quality of people that show up, because if you have a clear intention around your event, it's going to attract people who align with that intention as well and have something to offer to that intention. And also, there's more of a professional perception of events that people have to pay to attend up until a tipping point. But overall, I feel like professional events should charge. Like, if you were saying this event is going to put you in a room with a certain group of people where you can offer something for their businesses, and in return, they give something back to you, I mean, why not pay for that? But there is a tipping point. I feel like when you are a larger brand, more well-known, it's okay to host free events because you have that brand trust. People know you, people understand what your brand's about, and they want to be a part of it. And it feels more like you're offering something that's exclusive to them because they're a fan of your brand. A few examples of hosting a free event by a large brand, I would say if you're confident in your ROI, like if you know exactly what you want your return on investment to be, not necessarily for sales, possibly for like earned media. Like if you invite press to your event, you know you're gonna get stories written about you, you get photos for social media, or if you're trying to increase your email subscribers. And even if you're interested in curating specific content around a new campaign that you're launching. So you have to truly understand like what's your true return on investment outside of sales regarding free events. But for me, I would honestly like host free events if it was just like invite only. Like if I know there's a specific group of people that I want to attend a certain event, whether it be influencers or even the top paying customers for a brand, that's when I would host a free event because you're going to get something out of it. You're going to get the social media content, or you might even get sales from it from your loyal customers who truly enjoy shopping with your brand. So that's when I would host free events. But honestly, outside of that, it's probably best to charge people and not like an exorbitant amount of money, just like an amount that's relevant to the type of event you're hosting. So like I said, I'm not going to be hosting any more free events, especially webinars, because I hate that word webinar. It sounds tacky. I don't like it. Instead, I've decided to use this channel and this Style Chat series to share my thoughts and insights on the topics that I care about regarding fashion events. That way it just feels more authentic and more conversational as opposed to me trying to teach people something. But with that said, I'll also be working on a signature networking event, something that's in person but highly curated for people in the fashion community, not just in Seattle, but hopefully I can take it to different cities like San Francisco, LA, Atlanta, Chicago, Miami, New York. That's in the works, but I'll talk more about that when I have more details. But if you want to stay updated on my progress with that, feel free to subscribe to the Soirée Scoop. It's my bi-weekly newsletter where I'll be sharing a few insights that connect to these weekly chats, upcoming events that are on my radar, and other things like that. There's a link in the description for that. So those are my thoughts about RSVPing and not showing up. I think it's rude, but I've also done it. So I've also been a culprit of RSVPing to something and not showing up, but I still think it's rude. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the topic. Have you RSVP'd stuff and just decided at the last minute to not go? Like, did you have extenuating circumstances, or was the weather bad and you just don't want to get your hair wet? Because that is a thing. Let me know your experiences in the comments or in the chat if you're watching live. If you've been an event host and you've hosted an event, whether free or paid, and you got RSVPs but they didn't show up, tell me how you felt about it. Like, did you feel like a failure? Did you feel like, oh, I can use this data for future events? I want to know about it. Like, I need to have conversations with people about stuff like this because I think about stuff all the time. So thank you for joining me for my first ever Style Chat. I feel like this is a very rough version of what I want this series to be. I do have notes here. They're bullet points. It's not a full script. So I'm trying to be more conversational because I feel like if I read a script, it's gonna sound very robotic and my voice is already kind of monotone enough. I can't do that to you guys. But thank you for joining me. Hopefully you'll subscribe and come back next Thursday for our next conversation about why I don't necessarily like conferences. I want to hear your thoughts about that. Subscribe to the Soirée Scoop if you want bi-weekly newsletters in your inbox. Come find me in the chat, all the fun things, and I will see you next week. Bye.